In today's episode, I will walk you through the mindset hack that has completely transformed my life when it comes to getting things done and getting out of bed when you just don't feel like it. In today's episode, we are going to walk you through episode number 6 of 7 in Becoming an Unbreakable Man series. Today, we are creating total commitment to yourself, understanding the hero's journey, and creating the intrinsic motivation to, like I said, get out of bed even when you don't feel like it. This is something that I've used for myself, that I've used for every one of my clients. It is a powerful mindset hack to help you cultivate and create that motivation you're needing in order to get the things done that you know you need to get done. So it's a very powerful process. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to share with you a 24-hour challenge retreat that we are hosting in 2 weeks from the launch of this podcast. So if you're listening to this within about 2 weeks of actually us launching this podcast, then there might be a spot available for you. I will say we have 10 spots for this retreat. It's a 24-hour challenge retreat that will break you through or break you down and help you break through any mindset blocks that you have, help you create that clarity that you're looking for in your work, in your life, in your health, in your relationships, and ultimately help you tap into the purpose that you are so seeking that will give you the direction you want. That is the thing that we all want as men. We all know we need direction. We know we need purpose in order to cultivate that motivation to dive into our warrior within so we can be the man we want to be and show up, again, even when we don't feel like it. Sometimes you'll wake up in the morning and be like, I don't kind of feel lazy today. But in reality, if we allow ourselves to get away with ourselves, we allow our ego to get in the way too much, it just doesn't go well. It'll lead you into depression, anxiety, all kinds of mental, emotional disorders. I know I've been there before in life, and when I cultivate the warrior within and when I face challenge every single day, it is the thing that keeps me motivated and it keeps me alive. It makes me feel more alert. And I want that for everybody. I really do. And so what we've been able to create a 24-hour experience that will walk you through some of the deepest processes that we provide, everything from somatic breath work to creating cultivation. And I call it the mindset hack. I will share it with you in this, but when you do it in person with a group of other men, it is so powerful. You will get an incredible amount out of it. I will share the link in the description if you are interested. Again, within the next couple weeks, we got a few more spots for this event. So be sure to click the link and dive into that. And you can always follow me on Instagram if you want earlier access to this stuff too, because I know sometimes we don't always listen to the podcast within the first couple days of it launching. So follow me on Instagram at Unbreakable Man Coach, and you will get a little bit quicker access, I'll put it that way, to events like this. So before we dive in, thank you again for listening. If you have found this podcast valuable, please share it. Please give this to more men. It is my intention to help men find the power within themselves so that they can be the man they want to be and live the life they want to live. And as always, thank you again for listening and enjoy the episode. What is up, beautiful humans? This is Dr. Dave Cahotis. I am on a mission to forge strong, heart-centered, and purpose-driven men. And this podcast is here to help you stop managing your problems and start breaking free of stress, limiting beliefs, and excuses that stop you from executing at your fullest potential, living with passion, and being the man you want to be. So let's go. What you don't realize is that you are on a journey. No matter what, whether you believe this to be true or not, you are still on it. You're still in the process of life, and life has its way of uncovering what you need to see in order for you to learn lessons. It's as if we are living on a school on this planet to learn some things, to experience some things. And the way to win is actually through surrender. It's not surrendering and just laying on the ground, but rather surrendering deeper into the feelings and the visceral knowing within your own being, within your own psyche.
This is called the hero's journey. And you might have heard that before. You can read books like The Hero with a Thousand Faces or The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell, both of which are incredible books. And you can understand and dive viscerally into the hero's journey, understand the components and the parts. But really what it is just understanding that there is a reclamation of self. The game of life is designed for us from ages 0 to 7 to create psychological separation. When we create psychological separation, we feel fractured. We feel that we can't be ourselves. We feel that we can't fully express ourselves in certain ways. This is true for literally everybody. It's because we did not have a prefrontal cortex fully developed at that time. And in fact, we were in a lower brain state, a lower state of consciousness. And we go through different states of consciousness. So for instance, delta is deep sleep, and then there's theta, and then there's alpha, and then there's beta. And what's happening is you're going through these states of consciousness, especially when you're a child, and you don't have a prefrontal cortex fully developed, which is a rational center. We'll call it a filter. I'll give an example. If you gave an adult something, full grown adult, something in a restaurant that they didn't quite order, they wouldn't have a full meltdown at the table and they wouldn't throw their food, right? If you cut a sandwich the wrong way for a 3-year-old, that child will have a full meltdown. And the reason being is that they don't have a prefrontal cortex. Now, why I'm telling you this is so that you understand that you are on a journey of becoming. Like I mentioned, from ages 0 to 7, we don't have fully rational centers developed. And so when we think a thought, instead of it becoming rationalized and being like, oh, well, my mom is busy with doing the laundry, so she's not going to make me a sandwich right now, and I can wait. That's all good. When we're a child, what happens is that we emotionalize and then internalize an event. I'm going to say that one more time. We emotionalize and internalize an event. So instead of the event, for instance, your mom doesn't have time to make you a sandwich in that exact moment, you emotionalize it, meaning you feel guilty or shameful, or you don't feel that you're loved because she's like not giving you absolutely what you need. She's not bending her knee to you in that moment, right? And then you internalize it. Instead of you saying something like, well, I understand, mom's busy, you internalize it by saying, well, I can't get what I want. And you don't even realize this is subconscious and it happens in a second. I can't get what I want, or I need to take matters into my own hands, or I'm not lovable, right? Like, there are so many ways in which we internalize, and the statements themselves don't necessarily matter. What matters is that you create a pattern, and that pattern then creates survival mechanisms. And then we get into the world of knowing, and the world of knowing is where your ego is developed. So from ages 0 to 7, we are developing our ego. And in fact, we are developing our ego really until the age about 25, when most of our patterns are fully developed. It's argued between the age of 25 and 35 that your survival patterns, and when I say survival patterns, I mean these neurologic patterns are fully developed inside of your brain. And so neurons that fire together, wire together. I'm going to say that one more time. Neurons that fire together, wire together. And so from the neuroscience perspective, the pure biology of it, when we think a thought, we have neurons that send a signal out to other neurons that say, hey, I want you to think the thought of loss, or I want you to think the thought of abandonment. And what naturally happens is that we then think that thought subconsciously enough times that it gets ingrained, and then those neurons fire and wire together. They become factual, right? And then we find all the evidence in our world why that's true. Oh yeah, I can't have success in my life because of X, because of my childhood, or because I have this disability, or because of whatever. What you're doing is that you're just finding evidence for your lack, and you are arguing for your lack. Now, here's a really cool thing. We have an opportunity in our brain for our neurons to change. We can literally go through a process of transformation. Now, the mind and body, our connection doesn't like that. It feels totally out of sorts. It feels like, oh my God, like what is happening? You're going to feel When you go through a process of transformation, you're going to feel super uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable, to the point of feeling anxious. You're going to feel like, I got to stop doing this. Like this isn't good for me. I gotta quit this program. Like you're going to have all of these reasons why you need to quit. And that literally is just your ego coming online, trying to hold on. It's trying to grasp onto the old way of being. Now, again, you are the commander of your castle. You are the commander of your kingdom. You are the king in your own life. You're going from boyhood psychology into manhood psychology. You're stepping into your fullness. And so you know it's going to be uncomfortable. And that's the point. That's sort of like when the juice becomes worth the squeeze. We get the other side of this journey and we realize, holy shit, that was worth it. All of the pain I was carrying, all the hurt, all the resent, and I let it all go. And I surrendered deeper into my own wisdom, into my own body. I let my body take over. And now I know. Now I know. And when you know and you viscerally understand that you now get to experience the juiciness and deliciousness of life, you realize that you are so grateful for all that you experienced before that. But first, you need to be willing to go on the journey. And so why bring up the hero's journey? That's what this is. Every time you go through a process of transformation, you are on a hero's journey. And in fact, every day you do deep work, it's its own mini journey. It goes through a process, the 4-step process, which is separation. You are separating from an old way of being, meaning you are coming to this deep work and saying, I get rid of this. All right, maybe it's a resentment, right? I'm going to get rid of this. There's the initiation process right after that, or you start to get initiated into the waters of trouble. You start to experience some challenge. You start to feel some feelings. Again, this is just, let's say, in a daily deep work. Then there's the ordeal, and the ordeal is the deepest part. That is the point at which you are at no return. If you go back, you won't cross the chasm. You can't run backwards. You have to go down and through. And the down and through is you seeing the part of you that you feel so much shame about, the part of you that's unlovable, the part of you that, man, you yelled at someone and you feel incredibly remorseful about that. And that there's this part in you that can destroy. There's this part in you that is unlovable. And it's just part of you. It's just part of your psyche. But you kind of put it there because maybe back in the day you felt that. I've gone through deep, deep processes and figured out that I am unlovable. I am unworthy. I am greedy. I am all of these things. And I had to feel all of that and really reclaim that so that I knew that it wasn't in control anymore. It's like the parts of you that are in your basement are, banging on the floorboards and they're causing some noise and some havoc. That's sort of what this is. It's causing some anxieties, some irritations. And so what you're going to do is that you're going to go through the process, the hero's journey. Now, again, the hero's journey is going to be your own journey each day, but also over the course of the next 6 weeks and over the course of your year or the course of your lifetime. Each journey has its own markers. You're going to go through the process of separating. You're separating from your old self. Sometimes you can physically do that. If you go into the army, what do? They shave your head. They take your street clothes. They give you a new uniform that you are going to wear. If you come to my experience, I'm going to have you wear just a plain white t-shirt. I'm just going to tell you that already. You are separating from your old way of being. Now, I'm going to get into that more specifically in the next lesson, and that'll be our last lesson that is free for everybody before you really dive deep and cross the chasm. But for right now, I want you to understand that there is this process of separation. You have to separate your old ways of being, your old mindsets, your old habits, the old ways that you feel, the patterns that you used to run inside of your head. It's like old program. Imagine like if the new AI program was still running on MS-DOS. It can't function. It's not Windows 95, right? It can't function on that. You got this new supercomputer inside of you and you're running old software. So you got to get rid of it, all right? You got to upload some new software. So once you go through the process of separation, then you're going to go through the process of initiation. And initiation is where things start to get a little bit challenging, right? A little bit challenging, but you can kind of you can kind of like, roll with it. You start to get the feelings of it. You're going to, first few weeks, you're going to feel like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable. And then you're going to get to, after that, you're going to get through the process of ordeal. And those are the moments that you're going to want to run. You're going to want to quit. You're going to be like, this fucking sucks. I want to quit this program. Or you're just going to, oh, I'm not going to do it that day. That is the day that you need to go. That is absolutely the day you need to keep going. Where you feel something that you are super pissed about and you're like, oh, this fucking sucks. Oh. And that's the day where you release and you let go and you surrender and you allow yourself to just express yourself however you need. That is the day where you can then, on the other side of it, return. And what is a return? That's the form of integration. That's the return of the king in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, all right? The return of the king. So you allow yourself then to return as a whole self, a one unit. So now, this is what I want you to write down and why I want you to really, go through this process and think about it. You are going to create commitment. It's not worth it if you're not committed. I'm just going to tell you that. It's just not going to be worth it. It's worth it if you want to feel better. Yeah, great. But why? Right? Why? You have to create an intense commitment to yourself, an intense commitment to your life and to the world around you. And why are you worth it? What are you going to leave on this planet that is going to be so incredible for everyone else? And you get to enjoy it in the process. So in today's lesson, I want you to write down your dream reality. And I want you to write it as if you're living it, right? You wake up in the morning and I want you to write it in first person and first person present tense. I wake up in the morning before dawn. I get out of bed and my feet land on the carpeted floor. I can see the glass overlooking the water. It is so beautiful and incredible. I can feel my feet on the carpet as I walk towards the glass and I look out, seeing the moonlight on the water. Now notice, as I'm speaking this, there's a visceral feel to that. There's almost like a poetry in it. There's a feeling to that experience. I want you to draw out for me and for you, I should say. You are going to draw out for yourself. Draw out literally what that day looks like as the most amazing, mundane day of your life, like a random Wednesday. Maybe you go out to lunch with your wife and you get to enjoy an incredible lunch on a patio, maybe a glass of wine. You get to have just amazing sex later that day. What does that look like? What does that genuinely look like? How much money are you making? You're checking your accounts. How much money is in your account? What kind of work are you in? What kind of relationships do you have? Are you checking in with people? Are people loving on you? Are you just elated? Are they sending you gifts? Are you sending them gifts? What are you experiencing? And why I want you to write this down is that it creates order for your psyche. It gives you a point on the map at which you will commit. You are going towards an incredible life. You are going towards that. And all of the work that you're about to go through will absolutely, I can't even describe how worth it is. Knowing that I wrote that out for myself and I'm on my journey, man. I'm in it. And I get to experience it. And it's so amazing. And it's so beautiful. But you got to know what it is. Because otherwise you're just kind of running by default, by old patterns. And so that's what I want you to think about. Write out exactly what that looks like. This is a statement of purpose, whatever you want to call it, a dream. And put that up on your board in an area that you can read it regularly. And in fact, I want you to read it every day, just for a little while, just to get used to it, knowing that that's where you're going. Now, of course, we already know that we have, we were 5 out of 10 over here and we want to go towards that. And that's all good, right? We'll get you there. But this is important because you need to have commitment. If you're not committed to yourself, then there's no reason. There's no reason to do the work. You got to be committed to yourself, to a greater vision of yourself. And that is what is going to create the commitment. Now, what we're going to do in the next lesson is we're going to cross the threshold. And this is a big step. I'm going to tell you that. The next step is a big step, the next lesson. That is where you start. That's where game on, baby. Let's fucking go. And that's where I'm like, yeah, I'm there for you. You got to go. You got to do the work, but I'm there. When you're in the suck and I'm throwing you a rope and I'm like, yeah, it's game time. That's where I love to work. That's my gig. And so I know I can get you there, but you got to be willing to go for yourself. And so if you have questions on this, by all means, reach out. And if you're in the Brotherhood, if you're listening on a podcast, I will make a PDF that you can download. Maybe I'll put it into a packet. You can put into a download. I'm just thinking out loud as I'm speaking. And I know you're going to get an incredible amount out of this. But first, if you really want to get the result, you need to trust the process. The second thing, you need to commit. You need to commit to yourself so that you can change and you can transform and you'll get results. All right, guys, I love you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. If you found this episode valuable, then go ahead and leave a 5-star review explaining how this podcast has helped you so more people can find it. If you want to be a part of the Brotherhood, then click the link in the description below. You can also check out the Unbreakable Man experience if you're ready to face a deeper challenge and change your life for the better in just 3 days. All right, guys. Thanks again for listening. I appreciate you. And as always, stay unbreakable.